Oh boy, it has been a long time since I have used this microphone for anything, as a matter of fact. But today, as the title of this video probably tells you, I haven't even come up with the title of this video yet, but as it probably hints to, we're going to be doing a little discussion about RNG drops in games. Now, I know that every single major gaming YouTuber on the face of this planet, and maybe some on other planets, have done a video about this. But I'm not going into heavy detail. I'm not necessarily ranting. I'm just giving my 2 cents. Now, if you want my 2 cents or not, too bad. If you click this video, you should know what to expect. Anyways, the whole topic of this kind of came up when I was talking to my dad last night. And you know, old people don't understand how video games are now as compared to when, they played them. But I was talking to him, and I was telling him about how I bought my little brother one of those prepaid Steam gift cards for $20. He was supposed to transfer $20 worth of iTunes money to me because, long story short, he does chores, he gets an allowance, and he asked my parents for a Steam prepaid card. They got him an iTunes one. And I said, you know what, I'll get you a Steam card if you just transfer the iTunes funds. Well, he wasn't able to transfer it. And instead of being a douchebag, I just gave him the $20 Steam gift card anyways. And so he's going to pay me with his next allowance. Pay me back. So, that's all fine and dandy, right? That's just family, this and that. Well, I told him, I told my dad, I was like, do you know what he did? And he was like, what? I said, he took that $20... He bought in-game currency for his game, which is Trove. I don't play Trove. I don't know anything about Trove. I don't know what the in-game currency is called. And honestly, you can tell me, but my little brother's told me 50 times I don't give a shit. He bought this in-game currency, and he went to some character in that game. He bought a bunch of chests, which are basically supply drops for that game. And he wasted $20 worth of in-game currency and didn't get jack shit out of these supply drop deals. And my dad said, wait, what? I said, yeah, he wasted $20, didn't get anything in return. And my dad said, well, that's stupid. I thought when he got those Steam cards, he was buying games, stuff that had value. I was like, nope, he buys in-game currency, wastes it all in an hour. He does a week's worth of chores and has 1 hour of, yeah, cool, I got this stuff, and then boom, it's gone. And my dad was like, what the hell? That's like gambling. And I said, you see, that's the debate, is whether or not it's like gambling. And, after I finished that conversation, more stuff, we talked about more stuff, but I don't really remember. It was late, and I was tired, but I barely get to spend time with my family because of school and work, so, I want to spend time with family and just hang out. But, I started thinking after that, I was like, I feel that the RNG system has ups and downs, but it's just wrong. Now, as you probably know, if you're watching this, you've probably seen a lot of videos about RNG drop controversy, and you probably know that a lot of people try to say that RNG drops are gambling, illegal gambling, because it's mostly done by kids under 21, and in the United States you have to be 21 to gamble, and I believe that to be partly true. And the most common argument that people give is, well, you see, with gambling, you either win or you lose. You either gain something or gain nothing. Something of value or nothing. So technically it's not gambling because we're guaranteeing you something. We're not guaranteeing you that it's good or that it has value, but we're giving you something. And that's whenever I say, well, I'm thinking about this from a logical standpoint. And let's be real. No matter how much you love gaming, no matter how much of a hardcore gamer you are, that, in-game content that you unlock through these RNG drops, realistically, from a real world perspective, it's just pixels. It's data inside of a computer in a server. It's not an asset. You can't take that and configure it into your net worth. It's not a personal asset. It's not a financial asset. It's pixels. It's data. It's not something of value. In reality, if I had a rare gun skin on Call of Duty, if I had anything from a supply drop ever, actually. It's not of value. If I had the Peacekeeper in Black Ops 3, that's not going to earn me monetary benefits. It's just something in a game. Now, of course, people have a personal value system that they use to determine whether it's worth the spending the money or not, opportunity costs and all that stuff. But in reality, it's not anything of value. But that doesn't make it illegal gambling, because that means that the good shit also isn't of value either. So in reality, from my logical perspective, my real world perspective, you're spending money for nothing regardless of what you get. Now, you know, everyone bashes on RNG drops, and everyone hates them because either they think it's gambling, they think it's not gambling, they think it's unfair. But the reason that it's so unfair is because, or should I say, the reason people think it's unfair, because I don't see it fair or unfair, it's just a piece of a game. But the reason people think it's unfair is because you have the opportunity to spend real world money, which, mind you, not everyone who plays video games has. Like, out of all of the main hobbies that most Americans have, video games tend to be the cheapest of all the hobbies people have. You know, of course there are going to be a few things that are cheaper, but generally for the demographic video games are marketed to, which is pretty much anyone from 9 to 40, it tends to be the cheapest, a hobby. So when you give people the opportunity to spend a lot of money to gain an advantage over somebody, that's when it becomes unfair in people's eyes. Because I could be like all these YouTubers and shell out $300, $400 on supply drop bundles, and whether you're doing it for an opening montage video or you're doing it to try to get some item you really want, let's assume that item is like that ACR edition they added to Call of Duty 4, which that's a video all on its own, but it's really good, it's really strong, it's really versatile, but you have to pay money to get it, which makes it, an unfair advantage in some people's eyes. Now, I know I'm sitting here bashing on RNG Drops, saying that they're cancer, saying that, with all these, unfair advantages the people who have more money have over, the people with less money. I think that it can work. Now, the only way that RNG Drops in games can work is if you don't have the opportunity to spend real money to get these drops. Like in Advanced Warfare, you play for 45 minutes, the game grants you a drop. You get some good, get something bad, it doesn't matter, it's no cost to you. If you get something good, great, good job, dude. If you get something bad, it was free, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. That system is okay. Because people with money don't have the opportunity to shell out a bunch of money and have a higher chance of getting the really good stuff, whereas the only way you can have an advantage in a system like that is if you simply play the game more. But that's how competitive video games are. People who play the game more have an advantage because they have more experience. If you could use that same time ratio for supply drops, then it'd be a more fair system, because yes, people who play more will get them more often, so they have a higher chance. But it's not like I can play for 20 minutes a day, but shell out $350 and get all the good shit, while the guy who plays the game and doesn't spend any money has to grind like a motherfucker to unlock this good shit. So long story short, the supply system drop works if you don't include real money, US dollars or euros or whatever, into it, just in-game currency that you unlock through playing the game. No external currency allowed, only in-game currency. That's the only way it'll work. Or, playtime. Honestly, in my opinion though, I think earning supply drops based on playtime is actually better than using in-game currency. Like, how the games work is they have rec points for Halo, they have not COD points. Well, they do have COD points, but they also have like tokens or whatever the hell they're called, COD dollars, whatever. If you take out the COD points and you just have the in-game tokens you unlock for completing matches, then that's okay. In-game currency is fine, as long as it's unlocked through playing the game, not spending money. Now, of course, like I'm saying, I would prefer having a system that's based on playtime. Because, you know, you're doing bad. Oh, man, I've had a bad streak for 30 minutes. Oh, I got a supply drop. Okay, cool. Yeah, you know, that's fine. It made getting shit on worth it. So that's how I think supply drops would work in a game. Now, the last thing I kind of want to touch on, as you can probably tell, there's no script for this video. I just kind of sat down, turned on my microphone, and started talking. So if it's hard to follow, just know I didn't write a script, because this is something that it would be easier for me to just kind of elaborate on as I'm going. Because trust me, a script would make less sense than this rambling rant would. Because, you know, it just would. It's just science, man. But, the last thing I want to touch on is how people think RNG is truly random when it's not. In reality, it's actually against you. Just like gambling in casinos is. Like, you may not believe it, but it's rigged. The RNG system's rigged. Casinos are rigged. You know, all that stuff. They let you win just enough to keep you playing. That's how it is. You can argue with me on that topic all you want, but that's how it is. Like, and no matter what you say, it's not going to change how I think about that system. But that's kind of like just one little point that I wanted to get out there. And so I mean, tell me what you guys think. Do you guys think that they should completely get rid of the RNG drop system altogether and just revert back to map packs and DLCs to have stuff that everyone can get? Or do you think that the RNG drop system should be kept, but you take out real world currency options? Because I'm leaning more towards the latter. But like I said, you know, just tell me what you feel. Tell me what you're thinking in the comments or something like that. Start a discussion. I don't care. I might chime in from time to time. But so yeah, just tell me about that. Now one last little thing that I would like to oh lordy, my nose. One last little thing that I would like to talk about is how, you know, why the companies do this. Now this is something that has been touched on multiple times by multiple YouTubers. Why the companies do this, like the paid companies. And it all started with free-to-play games. You know, the developers of free-to-play games had to have a way to make money because the game is free. So they implemented bonus stuff that you could buy for real currency to kind of help them get a little bit of supplemental income from their game. There's probably a lot more to the history of RNG-based drops than that, but generally speaking, they started off in free-to-play games. And, you see, game developers who make paid games are money-hungry Jews. Oh, just kidding. That was uncalled for. But they want money. That's how capitalism works. Everyone wants to maximize profit. And so instead of releasing, how it started really is that map packs were released. You know, for Halo 3, Call of Duty games, you could get, you know, 5 maps, maybe a zombies map, maybe a peacekeeper, you know, a new weapon. But everyone was guaranteed the same thing if they spent $15. And that's fine. Don't get me wrong. I love map packs. I think they're cool. And like with Battlefield, how they release expansions, that's cool, you know, because you're actually paying $15 for real content. You get new maps, and you might get the French Army, Battlefield 1, or whatever they're adding. I don't know what they're adding. I haven't followed it all too much because school and stuff. But, you know, you get real content for your money, whereas RNG drops, you get a chance for something. But map packs were the thing, and I love map packs. But then they started implementing these RNG drop systems. Oh, excuse me. First it started out in Advanced Warfare, I think, being part of the game. Like I said, you unlocked it through playtime. But then they give you the option to, you know, get them sooner by spending money. And then from there it just went way downhill. It just went way downhill from there. So that's kind of how it all started, how it kind of got to where it is. Like I said a few minutes ago, tell me what you think. Do you think we should completely get rid of them or refine it to make it a little less pay-to-win type? Yeah, so that's pretty much my little rant, my 15-minute long rant about RNG drops and everything. Now, if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. That really helps us out. And I'm thinking about doing maybe some more Arma 3. I like doing that, and it's interesting, and there's a lot of opportunities and things like that. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.